Hi everyone, I hope you guys are having a great Friday. We are going to take this opportunity to take a look at our first topic, which is emotional intelligence. So I want to spend just a few minutes going over emotional intelligence and also showing you some things on Blackboard regarding the assignments that we have coming up for next week. Now, to cite the source, most of the work that I'll be showing you for emotional intelligence comes from this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's a great resource about this theory or this idea if you want more information. So let's talk about this. What is emotional intelligence? Well, at the core, it's our ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and within other people. Now, this is very important because all communication begins within us, and our communication is driven by our emotions. So before we can even talk about things like how to give feedback, how to handle conflict, how to communicate positively, we have to understand where our communication is coming from and what we are motivated by in our communication. And so often that is our emotions. So this idea of emotional intelligence creates within us an awareness so that we can manage our emotions and we can communicate in a way that helps the situation that we're in and doesn't hurt it. If you have ever been in a situation where you're just at a loss for words and you really can't describe how you feel, you're in a conflict with someone and you're not really angry, you're not really mad, maybe you're disappointed, and you're just searching for the right word to describe how you're feeling in that moment. Once you're able to do that, once you're able to describe that emotional state, then you can better communicate about it. So there's an idea that goes with emotional intelligence called cognitive complexity, and that is our ability to understand the complexities of the situation that we're in and use our mind to label it and to be able to communicate about it in a multiple or variety of ways. And so basically what that's saying is if you can engage, if you're upset about something and you can use more than, if you can say more than I'm mad, if you can go deeper than that and really describe how you're feeling, then you're going to be able to create more shared meaning in that moment than just saying, well, I'm mad. Because mad can have so many different meanings to it, and the other person is assigning their own meaning to what mad means. So sometimes we've got to go a little bit deeper in describing those emotions that we feel. And so understanding emotional intelligence and understanding your own emotions allows you to navigate some of these social complexities a little bit easier, and it allows you to talk about yourself and your emotions at varying levels, which helps to create this shared meaning. So, some people don't like this topic because talking about emotions is not always easy. It's not always fun because sometimes we have to look at ourselves and think, wow, how do I really feel about that? But if you can have a level of understanding about your emotions, then it's going to improve all of your communication and all of your relationships. And when we talk about emotional intelligence, we're talking about 4 dimensions. And I have some reading for you to look at this, but I just want to go over it briefly. So self-awareness is where we start. And this is your ability to perceive your own emotions in the moment and understand those tendencies. All of our emotions serve a purpose. They come from somewhere. And so having a high degree of self-awareness allows you to understand where some of those emotions are coming from, what makes you tick. The next dimension is self-management. And this is very much dependent upon your self-awareness. And so this allows you to stay flexible. So you can respond to situations in different ways. Let me just give a simple example. Let's say that you work customer service at a retail store. I did this for many years when I worked at the mall. And some people come in and complain. Someone who has an understanding of their emotional state is able to handle that complaint or that angry customer in an effective way. If someone doesn't have a high degree of emotional intelligence and a customer comes in and says, I don't like this product, I want you to give me my money back, I'm really angry and upset, that retail worker would probably yell back at them. Well, what do you mean you're upset? Well, I didn't sell you this. I don't know why you're upset with me. Someone with a higher degree of emotional intelligence and an understanding of the situation and their emotions can put that anger aside and understand that the customer's mad at the situation, not necessarily the person who's working behind the counter. So it allows you to stay flexible and be more positive in moments where you really need to be, and be able to tolerate uncertainty. When you're communicating with someone who maybe doesn't even understand their own emotional state, it allows you to just kind of stay in that moment and be able to talk through and help them understand themselves better. Social awareness is also a dimension that we are going to look at, and this is where you're able to pick up on the emotions of the other person. And sometimes, like I said, even when they don't realize they're having an emotional moment or can't describe it, you can help them do that, and you're able to focus on the critical information. And then we have relationship management, and so this is where we use our emotional intelligence to manage our relationships. So kind of going back to a conflict situation, being able to say, I am disappointed in what happened. I'm not angry, I'm not mad, I'm not afraid, I'm disappointed, or I am frustrated, and here's why I'm frustrated. So being able to use different languages to describe those emotions helps you see things at a different level and helps you create more shared meaning. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the dimensions. Now, what's interesting about emotional intelligence is that you can Google it and you can find a lot, sorry, that's my silly husband. You can find a lot of information about emotional intelligence that describes it in different ways. Those are the most common 4 dimensions that I talked about. You may also see them written in this way as well. And this kind of gives you a little bit more insight too. I can get it to open. So again, self-awareness, how we handle our emotions is that that management side of it. What's motivating us to communicate through our emotions in the way that we are. How do we understand other people? Okay, so there's a little bit more of that relationship management, and also the social skills. So we can also draw from this view of emotional intelligence, kind of breaks it down in just a little bit different way, but it's all getting at the same point that we have to understand ourselves and where our emotions come from that prompt us to communicate. So in order to start this process of looking at your own emotional intelligence and kind of where that comes from, we have a couple of assignments. This is really slow, I apologize. Let's see. So one thing we're going to do, if you haven't done so already, is we are going to complete an assessment. Now, this assessment is here. This is an emotional intelligence self-assessment. You can find different ones on the internet, but I thought this was kind of went more along with the dimensions that we're talking about. So it's going to ask you to measure yourself in terms of emotional awareness, emotional management, social emotional awareness, which is that social side that we talked about, and then the relationship management. So all you have to do is just circle your answer, total them up for each domain, and then determine kind of where you fall. You don't have to share this with me if you don't want to. All I'm most interested in are what are your domain scores, and then answer these questions. So for your strongest domain, how do you demonstrate that in your daily life? For your weakest domain, how does this affect your life? And then also, what can you do to strengthen it? Because that's one of the things we're going to focus on, is how can we strengthen our cognitive complexity and our understanding of our emotions. So for this assignment, you can just print this, you can write this down however you want to do it, and then just type your responses in the text box for the assignment. Okay. Now, we also have, I've listed here, some reading. This is from the book that I just showed you. And this is, oh sorry, it's sideways, but I think we can turn that around. But starts here, page 16, and it goes through each of the dimensions and gives you some examples. And it ends on page, hold on, 45. So very short reading. And just kind of take a look, and again, this will just give you some examples of what we're talking about and more of an explanation of the dimensions. And then the final assignment that we have is describing our emotions. So remember, I described cognitive complexity a few minutes ago as our ability to have multiple descriptors for the emotions that we're feeling. So this assignment is going to be a little bit challenging, and it's going to ask you to actually describe